This is how bad a woman has to be in order to get fired from a university. Now, this article, Warmbrier professor fired for saying he got what he deserved. Now, Warmbrier is a young man who was in North Korea and did a very minor misdemeanor crime. And they jailed him for 15 years and sent him home dying. This is what happened to this young man. Now, Delaware College has severed ties with a professor who said a student was held by North Korea and later died, got exactly what he deserved. All they're doing is severing ties. Kathy Dettwyler, she's the professor, sparked a backlash on Facebook when she wrote Otto Warmbrier was typical mindset of a lot of young, white, rich, clueless males. Remember, that's all that matters. All this rest of this is just too obscure. Forget about the rest. Mr. Warmbrier, 22, died a week after he was freed by North Korea, where he was serving 15 years hard labor. He was medically evacuated earlier this month and died in a coma. Ms. Dettwyler, an anthropology professor at University of Delaware, criticized Mr. Warmbrier in the past post of her Facebook page, blaming his parents for what happened to him. His parents have no control over what happened there. These are the same kids, remember she's using gender neutral terms this time, who cry about their grades because they didn't think they have to read or study the material to get a good grade, she wrote. We all know that female teachers downgrade male students at all levels. So these guys probably noticed that there was a big difference between their grades and the female students and knew exactly which ones were worth, that their efforts and products were as good as the girls. That's what I would suspect. His parents ultimately are to blame for his growing up thinking he'd get away with whatever he wanted. There's no reason for us to say that. Maybe in the US, where young, white, rich, clueless, white, she did white twice, males routinely get away with raping women. Okay, that's a total lie. We know it's a lie. And this is the era of Me Too. Men are getting ruined for being men. It's the complete opposite. But I mean, there's a case where we know from this sentence that this is a hardcore feminist, and she's demonizing all men. So when these young guys complain about their grades, you think if she believes and spouts this terrible rhetoric that she's not going to downgrade them? Come on. Let's see. Mr. Warmbrier, just a minute. Warmbrier, economics student, University of Virginia, was accused of trying to steal a propaganda sign from a hotel in North Korea. See, that was his giant crime. He might have just been fooling around. And he was accused. I mean, all we know is it was an accusation. So for all we know, the North Korean police just looked at him and said, there's a foreigner, time to put him behind bars. North Korea said it released Mr. Warmbrier on humanitarian grounds. That's a lie. They released him because he was dying. And so they were shipping him back home. So they didn't want to deal with his corpse, and claimed that the student had contracted botulism, a rare illness that causes paralysis after he was given a sleeping pill. But a team of doctors who assessed him in Cincinnati said they found no sign of botulism, and that Mr. Warmbrier had suffered severe neurological injury of unknown cause. So we know North Koreans are lying, and the safe assumption is that they abused him to the point that he died. And they shipped him home, trying not to get in trouble. Before Ms. Dettwyler's post was moved, it was shared by thousands of users, including some who said they would not send their children to university because of her comments. And they should be saying their male children. Their female children would be fine. And also, getting rid of her, does that mean that the problem's solved? Because she's just one of many. Colleges around the globe are feminist indoctrinated. So that's the problem that countries have to deal with, should be dealing with. The college said in a statement on Sunday it would not rehire Ms. Dettwyler to teach in the future. Does that mean she's not going to get a job again, like all the guys who get zapped? The school said in an earlier statement, Ms. Dettwyler's comments were particularly distressing and inconsistent with our values. Man, that is milquetoast. We condemn any and all messages that endorse hatred. Finally, they said it. Thank you. It's about time. I guess they couldn't get away with not saying it this time. And convey insensitivity towards a tragic event, such as the one that Otto Warmbrier and his family suffered, said the school. Like I said, notice this I'm going to say paragraph. Notice this article is very short and to the point, and you don't see any pictures of Kathy Dettwyler. Now here's another one, and I think it's good to look at this one. Who is Kathy Dettwyler? I believe that's her in the center. During the past few days, we've been studying the responses of several ethically challenged commenters to the arrest and imprisonment of American student Otto Warmbrier, who died in 1929, July 19th, by the brutal regime of North Korea, which accused him of removing a propaganda poster from a hotel corridor. So he might have just been fooling around. He may not have anything to do with politically at all. That is, his motivations weren't political. Instead of recognizing Warmbrier as a victim of deserving of sympathy, writers at Salon and Huffington Post, of course, and so-called comedian Larry Wilmore either criticized him for his supposed disrespect for his totalitarian host, or made fun of him for having gotten himself in trouble in the Hermit Kingdom in the first place. Of course, they're victim blaming. It's a guy, so he gets victim blamed. But worst of all was Kathy Dettwyler, an adjunct professor at University of Delaware, who on her Facebook page and in the reader comment posted the website National Review actually tore into Warmbrier after his death. To their credit, her bosses at the University of Delaware were quick to issue the following statement. Yeah, these hate mongers embarrassed the University of Delaware. Is the University of Delaware going to really root out this problem, though? No, I don't think so. The comments of Kathy Dettwyler do not reflect the values or position of the University of Delaware. We condemn any and all message that endorse hatred and convey insensitivity toward a tragic event such as the one that Otto Warmbrier and his family suffered. The University of Delaware values respect and civility, and we are committed to a global education and the study abroad. Therefore, we find these comments particularly distressing and inconsistent with our values. Our sympathies are with Warmbrier family. Are they inconsistent? Are they inconsistent? Because if Warmbrier, or Dettwyler, I should say, is indicative of the feminist incursion into Delaware, then that's not true. They do agree with it. It's not inconsistent. It's just that she voiced it so that they had to do something. They couldn't hide it. This statement was soon followed by another one indicating the university would not be rehiring Dettwyler after the present semester. We were so disgusted by Dettwyler's remarks about Warmbrier that we decided to find out more about her. Good. It turns out that Dettwyler is an expert on breastfeeding. She is sometimes described as a breastfeeding advocate, which means basically that she believes in breastfeeding babies until long after they have ceased to be babies. Can I ask you, this reason I brought this up, all you pedo hunters, how come there's not one of you going after this woman? Because in wildlife, when animals reach a certain age, that they start eating food, solid foods, they stop breastfeeding. So there's no reason to advocate for this for the child. When you start feeding child solid foods, They have no interest in their mother's breast. So for mothers to do this beyond the age of 3 means that the mother is getting off on it. I would suspect there is pedophilia involved. The mother's turned on. So where are all these pedophiles? Where are, and like the pedophile hunters? How come when a woman does this kind of act? Look, if a father did anything close to this with his daughter, they would just call him pedophile and want him behind bars. Notice these women can get away with it at any time. In one article, she suggests that it's reasonable to keep breastfeeding a child until somewhere between ages 3 and 8. 3, at least they're baby-ish. A brief career summary. After studying at UC Davis in Indiana University, she has bounced from one college faculty to another. The University of Southern Mississippi, Texas A&M, SUNY Plattsburgh, and Millersville University. Why I'm pointing out, this is why I brought this out, not so much about, this breastfeeding, is that notice that the women don't get fired and ostracized out of society, do they? They get moved laterally. They become someone else's problem. When a young man, you guys have seen it thousands of times now, when a man gets accused of anything like this, he gets fired. It's not that he doesn't get rehired. When they said rehired, obviously she must have had a contract that was up and they just didn't rehire her. If the University of Delaware really wanted to show real grit, they would just outright fired her. But guys, what happens to them? They get fired and they can never go to another university. Matter of fact, maybe they don't get a job ever again. But here, these women, when they have trouble, like I say, they just move to another university, get the same kind of job, same kind of pay. Do you see the issue I'm having with this? Let's see. I'll see if there's anything more we need to read. Yeah, I think this might be interesting or worth talking about. This particular article said our focus is not on Warmbrier, who died in June 2019 in Cincinnati, but on the creeps at Salon and Huffington Post and elsewhere. But thank you. It's about time they called Salon and Huffington Post what they are, creeps, who chose to respond to Warmbrier's arrest not by recognizing it as an act of reprehensible totalitarian dictatorship, but by denouncing or ridiculing Warmbrier himself. This young man did nothing wrong. At worst, maybe he was making a political statement or they didn't agree with it. But at best, he just fooled around and tore a sign down for fun. And this is a complete victim, a man who did nothing other than be naive about going to North Korea. And he was put away on a 15-year sentence, then died because of abuse. I'm just going to repeat this, to think that Otto Warmbrier got exactly what he deserved. She maintained that Warmbrier was a typical mindset of a lot of young, white, rich, clueless males. That's who she cares about, who come to my classes and who cry about their grades because they didn't think they really have to read and study the material to get a good grade. They deserve a good grade for being who they are. Or instead of crying, they bluster and threaten their female professors. See, so all of a sudden the gender neutral is gone and we know what it is. This is a feminist who hates guys and she's downgrading these guys, no doubt, because that's what they do. And these guys are complaining about it. And when I say threatened, when they say she said threatened, I doubt she means they mean to hit her or strangle her or something like that. They're probably threatening her with maybe legal action or going above her head and going to the dean. And they should. Oh, by the way, before we go, I know this is another video entirely, but look at this handsome, handsome boy. and all the young beauties that are after him. Again, guys, gain status. He's the highest status man in the land, and all the hotties want him. He oozes so much charisma. Okay. Anyway, this is all we need to look at. I'll put these articles in the description box, and you guys can peruse them at your leisure. Like I said, this one is very short. The BBC, of course, is not going to be use too harsh of a language against this. The BBC and here in Canada, the CBC are very feminist doctrinated too. And so they're going to treat this woman with kid gloves. Luckily, this article didn't. And as you can see, this woman is a man hater. And I suspect that with the breastfeeding of children way beyond the age, that there's probably pedophilia involved. And that's what I have to say about this. Like, oh yeah, again, all you pedo hunters, if you care about children so much, how come when the women are doing it, you don't care about it? Thank you. That's all I have to say about that.